those that are not on the meet, not on the call. So if they do want to go back and see what happened, they can. So do I have anyone interested in helping me to take notes? I'm going to try to take notes, and I do have the recording, but if there's somebody that can help keep some notes just in case I miss, that would be fantastic. Everybody's so excited about that part.
Some of us are trying to make dinner as we listen.
Hey, I understand. That might have been what my husband was just calling me about.
Carrie, I can take notes if you need me to.
Thank you, Haley. Or sorry, Lacey. Well, it's been a long day. I appreciate it. So just to kind of, and like I said, I have the recording, so it's not, I just want to make sure I don't miss too much. There's a few things that I want to talk about. I know the main thing, I was going back through the guidelines. I've looked a lot at the rules and regulations, the guidelines for this committee, the guidelines for, and then I looked back at the old minutes and all of those things. And so I've kind of, I've been trying to figure out with this committee, but there's some things that I wanted to give you guys updates on and kind of get us talking about as far as, because I know state trainings is a big piece. We only have so many national instructors right now, and I've been working them like crazy. Rich and Tamara have gone to every corner of the state, I think, in the last 2 months. And so I want to talk about that, and then also maybe throw out an idea for a new training design that I've seen in other places. And so a couple of things that I wanted to, for the national and regional updates, we have about 2 or 3 nationally certified instructors that haven't taught for a few years. They're at that 3-year mark where they haven't taught, but they're interested in kind of coming back. And so we need to get, and I think it would be good, and this is something I think even just, so Renee, we need to talk about how to become nationally certified. And we may have an opportunity that's in your backyard. But one of the things that, there's been quite a few changes if you're not familiar at the national level. It's been a while since you've gone through a certification. Then they've changed a few things, and so I'm wondering if we want to look at doing just an update for all current instructors. One of the other pieces that I understand from the national committee is they're looking at requiring recertification, not going through the full-blown, 15 hours, but having, an update every 3 to 5 years. So I'm wondering if we want to just be ahead of the game and do something like that. Like maybe a 3 or 4 hour update. And so I wanted to kind of ask you guys about that.
You're talking about state instructors?
Those are state instructors, and then the national instructors too, I've got to figure out how I can get them updated. But and I think they could do it with the state with the state training as well, because a lot of what we would be talking about is the new national stuff.
So Carrie, my question on the state training, if we put into place every 3-4 years, going to hold the option of a couple of choices a year in time frame and location, because again, they are volunteers and having to travel all the way up to Reno or wherever they hold it. And again, we're someone that's more in the southern area, so that's a question I have for that. Or would it be 1 year up north, 1 year down south? Do you see what I'm saying?
Right. We would have to figure that out. We'd have to figure out the logistics of it. My guess is it would probably happen around the same time that we're doing the other trainings. We would just have to figure out how that's going to look. So,
Sure, I brought this up with you at one of our meetings that I think might make sense to do that kind of training at the state competition, because most of the leaders are already attending that competition.
And that could very well be an option as well. Hank, did you have a thought on that?
said, since the state instructors have to teach at least once every 3 years, I think that's the opportunity to do the updating. Maybe as part of that training session, maybe you could break out a couple of those instructors over to maybe even a different room and take some time while staff is going over the risk management stuff. And maybe coordinate it so we're not using extra time and days away from our lives to. I just think it might work out well.
Okay.
Incorporate it.
Yeah. I think we could offer, we could do like at the state training, offer one of those sessions. We could do it, during one of the other trainings. Rick, you had some thoughts too?
Yeah, I was agreeing with Hank on that. If we could hold that like Friday night during the risk management part of it, that would be a really good time to do it.
Okay. So I think I would rather be proactive in this than reactive. Sometimes it's easier, but
exactly.
Yeah. And do you guys, do you like the idea of having that update, like requiring that update every 3 to maybe even every 5 years or 3 years? I don't know.
I don't know. We'll have to figure out a time span on that. Because like I did muzzleloader how many years ago? Yes, I teach it almost every summer or every month, but there's still stuff in there that I need to know.
Yeah.
I think part of that update too would be we have to get the updated manuals from National to everybody. I'm sure some of my stuff I've got from way back, I just happen to get some of the new stuff because I teach, but
right.
I don't know who's got manuals, some of the instructor manuals from like 2008 or something.
And I was thinking about that the other day too.
Yeah, my national manual's from I think 2010.
Yeah. And it had the curriculum itself didn't have a drastic change this year, but the risk management part has had a drastic change this year.
Oh yeah.
So
Hank again, but I would say at least every 3 years, and you wouldn't have to do it at every training, but if you have an instructor that hasn't been refreshed in a couple of years, then you probably want to schedule that update. But I would say also anytime there's a significant change in either the risk management or the procedures, I think it would warrant an update.
Yeah, the big thing that's changed, which kind of goes into my next update, is the whole first shot fundamentals and really pushing that. And if you haven't been through a state training in several, probably since 2014, then you haven't had those updates. And I think that's that's a pretty significant change for the program. So.
Well, and I think you have the option too. We can make it an online deal too, where we had kind of like these meetings, and instead of having to go sit down for 6 hours at a state conference, they can log on, get online, and even if we made it a PowerPoint base where it was time stamped, then they have the option to go through it kind of at their leisure. So if they need the updates, a lot of organizations do that update whenever you want to do it, just take care of it. So like Boy Scouts, for instance, their online safety training and their youth training is online all the time. You take it at your leisure. So that might help get more instructors through the program as well. And we can I think do that with the front end of our initial training as well.
Yep. So that actually goes right into my second update that I have for you. You led right into it in a way. So on the Western region, we have actually been working on the risk management youth development component. We are in the process of putting those into an online training. So you wouldn't have to go do the Friday night necessarily training. It could be an online session. Now I use the materials. I did it via Zoom to White Pine when they did their training a couple of weeks ago, or about a month ago. And then this last weekend, I did it in person in Virginia City, and personally, I like the materials better as online modules than I do as in-person modules. I have some ideas of how I can fix them for my own teaching style, but that's one option. I know Douglas County last year did sort of a modified version of that in a training where they had to watch a Zoom session. These would actually be online, and there's some quizzes that go along with it, and that's how, and then it keeps track of who's taken it and who's not, who's completed it. So that is coming. I think we're supposed to have those done by the end of the summer. We've all recorded the session, we've all done the voiceover, we've done the PowerPoints, we just have to finish. The person putting them into the right format is doing that right now. So
would it be possible to, if we're going to do the update sessions anyways, I know it's tough for an instructor to come back year after year and have to go through the same risk management.
Right.
So maybe we eliminate the requirement to do it every time and every 3 years, just like you would as an active instructor. So you're not having to go through the same material.
Yep. And that's when we get down to that portion of the training, and that was going to be one of my suggestions, is maybe looking at that, because I fully realize I've heard it now for about probably about 15 years of we hate sitting through that every single time. So
that's been one of my concerns or questions. Can you hear me?
Yeah. Yep.
Okay. Is initially, I think everybody ought to go to that class when they take their first discipline. And then after that, if they're doing the renewals, do they have to do that? If they've done rifle, do they have to do that before they do shotgun, or can we just do that as part of the renewals?
Right. And those are all questions as we get to those portions of the guidelines, then we need to definitely look at those.
Okay.
So, yep. And I think, what we could do is when those online modules go into effect, because it talks about the first shot fundamentals, I believe what we could do is just have everybody go through those. Just make it to where everybody goes through those the first time and that was their update.
Carrie, Hank again here.
Yep.
Is there any, I know that on the national minimum requirements, that's part of the deal, to have those hours for each discipline. How do we go about changing the national guidelines?
Well, technically, that's still the minimum because they've gone through that training. What they say is you have to go through 3 to 4 hours of youth development training and then 9 to 12 hours of discipline training. And so most states have actually gone to the fact that they only make you go through that training every so many years. They don't make you do it every time. So I don't think they'll still be within national guidelines.
When I was reading it, it's
yeah.
The only way, so like if you're going to do all 5 disciplines or more, we don't have to necessarily do it each time.
Right. Yep.
Does the state require that?
Right now, I believe it is one of our guidelines. So,
okay.
Yep. So when
we set that up in the beginning, we never did change that out. It was always the same every training.
Yeah. So, and the information really hasn't changed much. It's just more of the format. So there's a few things on risk management that have changed just slightly. So, okay. So I'll make that note too. The other piece, we are going to put in a bid to host the spring of 2019 national training in Las Vegas. I believe we already put in, if I remember correctly, we already put in tentative, we already reserved the dates at the Clark County shooting range, the Clark County range tentatively, just so we'd make sure we had it. But I've talked to a lot, and I've already talked to all the Western states. They're all willing to jump in and help. They can bring equipment for us if we need it. They can do, they'll bring manpower, whatever we need, they're willing to help. But they are the national committee. I've talked to most of them. They're all excited about it. They're actually all like foaming at the mouth to be able to get down to the Clark County shooting range and actually see it and use it. So, because they've heard all about it.
Carrie, did you say that was 2019?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yep. So 1 year from now.
Yep.
In the spring.
Yep, in the spring. Yeah.
And how many days is that training?
That is 5 days. That is, I've had conversations about that. It runs Monday through Friday. It's a 40-hour training is what it is. Or I guess it runs Monday through Thursday, doesn't it? Because it's 40 hours, but you're working from 8 in the morning until 9 or 10 at night.
Yeah, it used to be like a 6-day training, and we've harped on them, and they finally cut it back to 4.
And I'm still trying to harp on them about cutting it down even more. They're not listening. So, because I think that's why we haven't had people go to training, is because it's tough to get away for a full week. I completely understand that. So,
when will we know if we got the bid or not?
As soon as I get the proposal into them, we should know within a couple months. We should know by fall for sure. So my understanding is the fall training this year is going to be in Texas. They've gone to 2 years or 2 a year. And then, so we've got the online modules. I think they're going to be I think it's going to be great. We were talking about it after the training in Virginia City, and what I can see is people going through the online modules and then spending maybe an hour on kind of going over the highlights of those online modules, answering any questions, those types of things, rather than the 4 hours of sitting there listening to lecture. So,
well, not only that, that'll cut a day out of their time that they need to take to go do the training.
Yeah,
it's
so
a little bit easier. There's so many people don't have the time to travel.
Exactly. So Rick, that leads me into the next one, the design. So I want to throw an idea out to you. I have seen this work in other places. So I'm wondering about doing because we were required to have 9 hours of discipline training. So we can get that done in 1 day if we did like an 8 to 5 and did a working lunch, or an 8 to 6 and do, and then that lunch break. And then that way what you could do is you could do a 1 day training, or you could do 2 day training, and you could offer you could do 2 disciplines on 1 day, 2 disciplines on another day, and that way people could get dual certified in a week, certified in 2 disciplines in a weekend.
Yeah,
So
Carrie?
Thoughts? Yep.
My thought is I've been to training in October, and it's going to be pretty hard to run that many hours in October with the daylight at the range. But in the spring or summertime, that would absolutely work, and that would be great.
Okay.
And that would be very advantageous, because that's the thing. A lot of people want to get trained on multiples, and they don't want to wait a whole year for their second one.
Yeah.
Well, not only that, when you're teaching the class as an instructor, I'm talking here, you can only talk, so you can only teach so much. So if we could break it in, for a long, long time, I thought the other way around. We need the whole weekend for just one. But I'm thinking the other way, I'm changing, kind of going the other way with it now. Yeah.
Other thoughts?
I'd love to see the thing even go further. We have a 3-day weekend like this one coming up. You could do a super training, and you could walk out with 3 disciplines. With you could have archery, rifle, and shotgun all in one, and then for a new instructor, you could basically have a club startup right there.
You could.
How about if we experiment with 2?
Yeah.
See how that works and go to 3.
We are, I will tell you, we are going to experiment with 1-day training here pretty soon in Washoe County. Just because we're gonna pilot test it and see how it works. Which
you're very much appreciated, Washoe.
Yeah. So I had Scott or Joe, Tom. Any other thoughts on that?
What if we go with a mixed media type of presentation where you do a lot of the classroom instruction via teleconferencing, maybe during the week, and then you meet for a shorter period on the weekend?
Dan, what he said.
Or you have pre-work, stuff that you have to do prior to coming to training.
And that might be something, maybe those that are nationally certified, maybe we have a separate meeting to kind of talk about how we could do maybe something like that.
Well, in Douglas, was it last year? We did 3 in one weekend. We did muzzleloader, I think it was muzzleloader, hunting, and air pistol. And it can be done. It was a long day. It was a long weekend for us, but we did it. So, and yet, this weekend when you were up there at VC, I think we covered as much material in those 3 days as we did in the 3 days or 2.5 days we're in VC. So it can be done. It has to be a little more intense, but it can be done.
So is the committee interested in moving forward with trying that model out for?
I think that model works well for an existing instructor. I don't think it would work too well for someone that's coming in new.
Okay, and that would be one of my questions.
Well, you found that there was some people from the new people starting up in Yerington and Lovelock. They were kind of frustrated because they could only get training maybe every 6 months.
Yeah.
It was frustrating, especially when they're starting a new program down there. Do a day in a couple in a weekend or a long weekend. I think it would benefit these new programs coming online.
Okay.
Okay, the concern I have with that, I hope I didn't cut anybody off. The concern I have with that is if we have a bunch of new people involved, we don't want to do too much, get them, I don't know how to put it. I'm concerned with them just getting in trouble by going too far with too much.
Right.
Get them in on a couple of trainings or get them at least through one, and then we'll do another, we can get them on a couple of them. But I'm afraid if we go too far, it might create a problem. I don't know.
What if first-year leaders trained with only one discipline so they're comfortable, and then the next time around they said, like you said, go in.
Yeah, that's what I'm thinking. If we could get them like one for the first year, and then the next time they go to a training, they can do 2, or if we have 3. But I think it's better if we get them in and get them graduated.
The only issue I would raise with that is that I don't think it's the first discipline. The issue is how much training do they have in their discipline to begin with? Because if you have someone who is well trained in archery or in rifle or in pistol, they may not need as much. But if they're not well trained, then they may need more time. So I think it's more about their own personal experiences versus whether it's their first or second or third.
And that's where I find it. If they come in with prior knowledge, then they do fine. But if they come in, with absolutely no experience, anything, they're just going because they want to help out in their county, then that's where we run into. If they've never picked up a bow or if they've never picked up a shotgun and you make them shoot a shotgun. Sorry. If you were at the training this weekend, you got to see me shoot a shotgun.
I thought you guys were talking about me.
Oh, I know. It was me.
Now, for the new clubs starting out, would it be beneficial if existing coaches from nearby clubs go over to the new clubs and help them out maybe 2 or 3 times a year?
Have a sort of semi-mentoring system.
I think you can do that. What I'm seeing though is from our point, I've got law enforcement officers that are NRA trained that now have to go one time, then wait 6 or 8 months and go another time and pay for all the travel and stuff. If I could do it all at once for guys like that, then I'd have guys that were right off the bat ready to teach. And I know we have Mesquite's just down the road from us, and they're a new club, but they only have 1 discipline at this point. So if we could have got them at least 2, then the kids that don't want to shoot archery can go shoot rifle or air pistol or shotgun. So if we give a little bit more option, I think it gives the kids more excitement, because not every kid's going to love every discipline. We got kids that can't shoot shotgun that love to sit down a rifle and shoot rifle all day long. So I think it really is kind of more individualized. And I think if the people don't have the skill to do that, so maybe it's just an aptitude thing at the beginning. If they don't have any knowledge in any disciplines, then we kind of limit their involvement. But if they have a knowledge and we're NRA certified instructors, then we make some accommodations to make it work for that club, I guess.
That's what I'm wondering about the NRA instructors. To me, they're more qualified to be a state instructor. I'm not sure, short of our the stuff we go over the first day, our liability stuff. But other than that, I would think they'd be more than qualified to.
Yeah, well, and that's they still have to go through. They would still have to go through the 9 hours, only because that's a national policy that we can't get around. Just because of
Can I say a little on that?
Yep.
Law enforcement and NRA instructors really concern me. They're taught to teach adults, not youth. And it's a different program.
They got an NRA for the shotgun. They have a youth program for NRA instructors, and we actually have some guys that wanted to go down and do the NRA part of it, so they could assist us up at the shotgun range. But
NRA certifications don't go with 4-H certifications.
Right. But we have our certified 4-H coaches. They just want to have some sort of certification to help us out. There's a couple nationally ranked shooters up here, and they want to help our kids out.
Well, here's what we might do, though, that if someone is on their first certification, they have to go through, they can only do like 1 for training. But maybe if someone has a USA Archery, they could do 2, or if they have an NRA certification, they could do 2, and just say, that would give you the permission to do 2 in a weekend versus 1, but at least you have a baseline to start with.
I think maybe you need to put an application out there and let people qualify themselves by telling you how much experience and training and background they have in whatever they're going after, which helps you set a baseline. And we would need to come up with a baseline of what they have to have before we let them take 2 trainings in a weekend. And I know that's a difficult thing to come up with and to create, but that's what we're talking about doing is, changing stuff up. So.
And I think that could easily be done. I haven't looked. Oh, go ahead.
Going back to, I think it was Rick Hyland's concern of law enforcement officers, teaching kids. What if this law enforcement officer is also a scout leader or works with a youth group somewhere? Then he's got experience in both places, and he can probably do it.
Yeah.
And I mean, I'm an NRA instructor for rifle. I have USAA for archery. I'm a Boy Scout leader. I just spent the weekend training 6 Cub Scout range masters. So I think it does carry over, but they still have to go through the proper training. It just, like you said, it may give them the right to say you can do 2 versus 1. But how do you write the proper guidelines to acknowledge that? That's going to be the difficult part legally.
Yeah. And I haven't looked at what other states are doing. I know they're doing it. I just don't know what it looks like. And so that's something that I can also, send a call out to all the other shooting sports coordinators and ask kind of what is going on. And then find out, because I think more and more we know that it's, 3 days essentially, because people, if they have to travel to training to get one discipline is tough. You just can't. It's hard to justify anymore. So, and I can also check with the national committee and ask them what their recommendations are if they had, if you were going to look at other certifications. I mean, I know pretty much, but somebody has certification in one of the other areas or has, 30 years of archery experience. We just have to teach them how to teach kids. That's the key.
That's the key right there.
Yeah.
Well, that's the big problem I've seen too, is it's also how much experience they have with 4-H
right
programs. If they got other programs that got their NRA, then they understand the 4-H. If they are NRA, then they don't understand the 4-H. And the biggest problem I've had, especially the one discipline I taught down in Vegas, was I had 2 or 3 NRA in there, and they kept fighting me on how we did it.
And so, I mean, so they just need to understand the 4-H methods and, how to teach kids, which I think you can do in the 9 hours. So, okay. So are we all in agreement that we will move forward with looking at this new module or this new training design?
I think it'll be good.
Yes.
Okay.
Absolutely.
We need to take a vote. Is there anybody strongly opposed? Okay. If nobody's strongly opposed, then we are good. So I would like to look at, because I want to get it on calendars now, because I have felt like we have been just a nightmare the last 2 years for training. And I completely completely take responsibility for that. So I want us to think about some potential for fall and spring trainings. So like where we want to do it and maybe time of year, so I know it seems a long ways away, but it will be here before we know it.
That ain't no lie. My idea is on that. Can we split the state like in 3 or 4 sections, and then each quarter we'll do a training in one of those sections and rotate it around? I'm not sure. We used to do it that way as far as doing a training. Like we do a training in Elko, and then we do one in Vegas, and then maybe in Reno, and then over in Ely, and just kind of move it around so that more people could be involved with it.
I like that idea.
I don't remember how the state is split up. Last time I heard, Sandy told me, and it didn't make sense.
Well, we're only split into 2 areas. Well, right now we're only split into 2 areas as far as extension goes, but that could all be thrown in the air, and it's a real possibility in September there will not be any areas anymore.
Okay.
It will be Clark County, Washoe County, and everybody else.
So in other words, we could basically ourselves draw the lines and do whatever we want to.
Yep, we can do that.
I think the easy split is east, west, and south.
Use Tonopah for the divider.
That works. Tonopah can be any of them.
Yeah, Tonopah could be any of them, but we could use that for the point of cross there.
Yeah.
Division point.
Just kind of cut it. You can't cut it in complete fourths, but you could look at it more so.
Yeah.
The past couple months, we pretty much done 3 out of 4 areas anyway, so.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, it's been bang, bang, bang.
Yes. And we're not going to do that again.
But realistically, if you do the risk management online and it turns into a 1 day, then it's a whole lot easier and everybody can accommodate faster because, I may be here in Reno, but we can get together with Douglas, with Churchill, with Lyon, with Carson City.
Yeah.
And it's a whole lot easier for 1 day versus 3 days.
Right.
Sure, you could do your 2 classes. You could start it on Saturday morning, wrap it up Sunday morning, and be done.
Mm-hmm. Or you could, yeah. Or if you wanted to, do you think, well, you couldn't do the 2 disciplines if you did it that way. You would have to go until probably, unless you want to go later in the evening.
Yeah, I'd do a little bit later in the evening and maybe, in a little bit past lunch on Sunday.
Yeah.
It'd still give us travel time to get around.
And is that with doing the management online?
Yep.
Yep.
Okay.
And then if we do have people that can't do it online, we can figure out a way, maybe we do a Zoom session, 2 or 3 days prior to the training.
Yeah.
The other option I see is if you have a particular need in a particular area, if you do the 1 day model, we can move an instructor into that area for 1 day to do a quick in and out on a Saturday. And it's one instructor, and then those people can get trained in that discipline. So I know down in the South, it had been a couple of years since we'd done rifle.
Mm-hmm.
And so that was a need here. So if we could just move an instructor down for a day, it's a whole lot easier to get an instructor for a day, put them up, room and board, even if the clubs all got together and paid for that portion of it if they had to, than to get 4 instructors together all to come at the same time and get schedules all mixed out. So I think it would be easier with a 1 day schedule to kind of condense that a little bit.
Yeah, the only problem we have with that is we only basically right now have maybe one nationally certified instructor in each discipline, statewide. So.
Well, therein lies the problem. If we can get more nationally certified instructors, then we solve the issue.
Exactly.
Frankly, each corner of the state should have their own set of instructors.
I would love to have in that 4-quadrant area, have a set of instructors for each of those 4. It's just getting people to be able to go to the training is the biggest.
With Rich and I've been begging for those national instructors for how many years, Rich?
Since about 2005.
I know I've been begging for the last 3 years. The one problem we had is we'll get people that go through certification, and then they want to go to national training within 2 weeks, and you have to be at a club level for a year, or you have to teach for 1 year before. I mean, we can get some exceptions, but not a ton. So that's been probably the biggest one that I've had since I've been here. But yeah, so we need to.
For the new people, we require them to do a year of training, but the ones that's been with us for a while, we kind of slip them under the wire.
Yes, we do. So
with the national training coming to Nevada here, when you're saying in 2019,
yeah,
we should be able to boost those numbers, right?
I'm hoping so.
I'm definitely willing. I mean, I don't know what's going to be going on when it's happening in 2019, but I would like to go for a national certification.
It's typically the first week of May. The first full week of May is usually when it happens.
Sounds good right now.
But
Yeah,
Vegas is beautiful in May.
What's that?
Vegas is beautiful in May.
Exactly. It's not too warm. It's not too cold.
Actually, if we could do the same SHOT Show, we could all go to SHOT Show, and that'd be the added attraction.
I keep volunteering and telling them I'm open during SHOT Show. I'll go and help the committee. They're not good taking it though. Okay, so what we will do is I will work with Rick to kind of coordinate that, how we break up the state. And then maybe do, 2 of them in the fall and 2 of them in the spring.
Yeah, we'll roll with that.
Okay. Do we have anybody that wants to go to the National Shooting Sports Match?
I have one signed up right at the moment.
Okay.
We was kind of holding off on him, as far as putting in the coach. If I can get enough of my kids to go, I'm going.
Okay.
I've only got one signed up right at the moment. The other one that was going to go, actually, I started out with 4. And then I went down to 0. I'm back up to 1. And the second one, I'm hoping, she's been having problems with her hip. So I don't know. I'll find out, I guess, tomorrow whether we can do it or not.
Okay.
I do have Riley Hooper signed up.
Okay. So Renee asked, when is it and where? It is, so in order to go to the national match, you have to, the senior age group has to have received a blue ribbon at state. And it is the end of June in Grand Isle, Nebraska. The information was sent to the county offices and with instructions that they were supposed to pass it on to their shooting sports leaders. Now,
I think we're due to you tomorrow, aren't we?
I think so.
Yeah.
So
yeah, when you, well, I can't speak for anyone else, but I sent them out right away.
I was gonna say you usually do, Haley. So I guess my question is for this group too, how do we, because we've only had 1 or 2 kids going, how do we get more participants?
Have more opportunity for them to actually do the events, because I feel that there's not enough of the actual practice for them to go to, or
well, they can only qualify at the state event.
Right.
If they have opportunity for them to do the event prior to that, you'll get more participation in state.
That would be the county.
Yeah. The other would be, financially, it's challenging for a kid to get back there. So if there's some way we could build some grant program to get some of our kids back there, would sure help.
We do pay their registration fee, which is, nothing. That's the minimum amount. That's only $125.
Right. Then you got the hotel meals for mom, dad, kid.
Travel.
Yeah. Getting
What
to
about
Grand Isle.
alumni, Terry? What about some of the alumni? Would they ever consider sponsoring? Could we start a sponsorship type thing for the kids that want to, that qualify and want to go back?
That could potentially be an idea.
I think part of the issue is just getting used to the idea of competition. And I think we need to do more county versus county, have postal matches, and develop a system where we get them thinking that they're not just doing this for skills, but they're doing it for competition. And starting them with postal matches would probably be the best way. So we can at least try to get them thinking it's not Clark, it's not Washoe, it's not Lincoln, we're all in this together.
Yeah. That could be something, we could have if we divide this into 4 areas, we could have regional postal matches just to have fun, and do some fun little things, and then, to get them, thinking about that and then moving on.
And
but I also think that the competition at state has to match the national rules, because what they do at state doesn't necessarily equate to what they would do at nationals.
Right.
No, when you shoot your different disciplines at national level, they shoot some different stuff.
Yes, they do.
Like when you shoot shotgun, we have trap only. They shoot trap, skeet, and sporting clays. When you do muzzleloader, you shoot paper targets, you shoot iron silhouette. It's a so on and so on. So yeah, we gotta get on board with that. I can get you guys some information on that, pictures anyway. But another one too, it's in funding the kids. We are signed up with the Midway USA. What do they call that? I can't.
Their
remember.
Foundation.
Yeah. State Foundation. Yeah, we are.
Are?
Yeah, I've had that on deal for a couple of years. I
have seen no paperwork on that.
Well, guess I have to send it to you.
Yeah. Because
the problem, I sat on it for a long time because most of their money is raised through raffles. They'll send you guns, and then you have to sell X amount of tickets and blah blah blah. You do to it, and then you send that money back to them, and they'll double it.
Right.
Or sometimes they'll triple it.
And
you got a problem with selling guns and stuff too, right? With UNR. So kind of what we did with Douglas County this last year was organization outside of our group did raffle and everything else, donated that money to us.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, and I was going to say, if I knew that, Rick, we would have taken part of the funding, because I think they'll match it even if we just put in some of our funding.
That's right. We've already got $10,000 in there.
Geez, we could probably put another 5 in there
We can-
easily.
Yeah, and we can draw out 5% twice a year.
Okay.
Also, they don't always do guns.
Right.
They do like Zeiss binoculars, computer, laptop computers, different things. I just need to get the stuff to somebody who can watch it all the time. I get a little busy and miss out on it.
Well, I was really, I thought I was good. I thought I had good news for you guys, but I don't now. So I thought we were getting a real shooting sports coordinator, but that position has been put on hold.
And something else on funding too is the NRA Foundation does have money for at the state level for sending people to contests and stuff that we put in for.
Oh, okay.
So we at the state level it could be a grant. We do it on the local level, but it's also available on the state level. I believe stuff I've read online anyway. So.
Yeah.
I'd like to go back to the county versus county match concept.
Mm-hmm.
I think we bring it. You can even bring it a little bit more local, so it can be club versus club. So you do some inter-club matches, get those kids used to shooting with each other, and then maybe you create an all-star team that you send to your county versus county matches, and let those kids shoot. I think one of the big things about the shooting sports is you got to get kids excited, and I think kind of the way we do state is like they show up, they shoot, and they go to an award ceremony at the end, and that's kind of it. It would be really great if we could get some sponsorship. I know we're coming to Vegas this year. If we could get with Gone and see if Gone is a great supporter of the Western lifestyle, get him to throw some money in and give those kids some swag bags, give those kids something where they feel special when they come to those shoots. So they want to keep coming back, and it gets them excited to come to those competitions. And when we start at that local level, you build those, it'd be we have the Bulldog Pirate rivalry between us and Mesquite. And that rivalry would continue between those two shooting clubs. And so you shoot back and forth, and then you go to that county, and we go into Nye County and Lincoln County and do those matches. I think it would be a great opportunity for those kids into that kind of more competition mindset, but still teach them the sportsmanship and the being a good quality citizen, because it's not all about the competition. It's about making great kids and great leaders. So for me, I think that would be a great help.
Okay. And that was after going to the state match. It's great, but I could see some things that we could do, exactly to get them. The one thing we will have, well, that goes into the others, but okay. So I would like us to think about, because it's obviously too late for this year for the national shoot, but to really think about our next meetings, to really think about what we can be doing to raise money for to help with the national competition, as well as, maybe some of these postal matches and that type of thing.
One thing on that national stuff, so they do shoot completely different from what we shoot.
Right.
So if we didn't change what we did at state, if we can get kids committed early enough, then we teach them what they're going to be shooting there, and they can practice that until national. So instead of going back there, like we sent Rosalie back a couple of years ago, and she was just, it was sideways for her because it was completely nothing like she had anticipated.
Yeah.
That's right. That's where we got to get back into our state rules.
Yep.
Yeah.
We got to get in there and make rule changes so we can do this other stuff.
Yeah, I think we will, and that's exactly, I agree completely. Some of the things are not feasible to do. We can't do sporting clays everywhere because we just don't have the facilities to do that. Vegas happens to have facilities to do sporting clays, but Elko did not. So.
Oh yeah, Elko does have sporting clays.
Oh, do they? Okay.
Yeah, Eureka has sporting clays too.
Okay.
Yeah, the other thing with state that one of our coaches had talked about is, so the shotgun's going to be an all-day affair. If you do trap, skeet, or 2-day, that you make state in a couple of different locations, at different times for different disciplines, because it's going to be an all-day thing. I mean,
actually, we're moving to a new model in 4-H for state, so I'll explain that one to you guys because we're going to have more days.
There's also something, Texas actually selects their national team a year in advance, and those members on that team, if they're selected for rifle, all they shoot for the next year before the state before the national is rifle. They don't do any other discipline, and that's one option, to be available, get more practice in, because we do our state match in September, and in June you only got 6-7 months to shoot, especially if you're in northern, Nevada, where we get snow, rain, sub-zero weather, whatever.
Yeah.
So that would be changing our state rules, which Rick's already mentioned.
Yeah. I think as we move forward, getting more and more kids interested in that, I think that's gonna. A lot of states have moved to where they select their teams a year ahead. So kind of moves into the state match. So this committee works on that. I also have several committee or several people from the southern area working, that want to work on that committee. I'm going to pull together a committee to focus on the state match in June so we can start planning that. The Louisa is the 4-H professional in Clark County that does the shooting sports, and she's kind of taking the lead on that right now, and she's out on maternity leave, so she'll be back in June. So as soon as that, but I will tell you, it is September 29th in Las Vegas, and here's the thing about it. So in 2019, 4-H is actually going to a if any of you are around in the days of the Expo, 4-H Expo, we're going back to a modified model of that, where we're going to be doing all of our competition, all of our state events, including state competitions, state we'll do volunteer training. We're going to do some team leader training, a whole variety of things in a 3 to 4 day period. It'll be like a Thursday through Sunday. And so my thought is with shooting sports, that gives us those 3 days to do the shooting sports competition rather than 1 day. So we can change. And what the plan is for that is 2 years in Winnemucca, 2 years in Vegas. So moving, because those two have the best facilities. I've talked to Winnemucca. They said they do have the facility to do the shooting sports. We could do it up there, no problem. So just to kind of but that's 19. So we still have to plan 18. So.
With that, Carrie, it may be like centralized in Winnemucca, but what are any of like the outside towns? I mean, like for Vegas, for instance, like they may have the best facilities for shooting sports, but if we plan on doing any of like the other committees, like Knife Stock, would we include the other outside committees?
Potentially, yeah.
Okay.
At this point, we haven't gotten to the Vegas portion of it. We're just trying to get the Winnemucca portion to start.
So there's some outlying towns out there too, so.
Yeah. But really make it a big event and getting kids to come, and trying to get kids excited about doing, about coming together.
So, Carrie, you're talking, this Hank here in Las Vegas, you're talking about just having 2 designated locations for the state match and rotate every 2 years, is that right?
Yeah.
Okay, not go back to Carson or Elko,
well,
no.
I'd like to try this for a little bit, just to see with shooting sports, because I don't think shooting sports was part of that before. So I'd like to at least try it the first year and see how it works. See if we can integrate it in. Otherwise, and I know that kind of throws, those other counties out, but it just helps with all of the coordination.
Okay.
So.
I mean, for Washoe, we're not opposed to that just because we don't have facilities for shotgun and for 22s. So for Washoe, I think we're fine with that.
Yeah.
I think Douglas could handle the 4-day because we got access to a beautiful trap range, which does all the shotgun sports, and then we have our gun range. So Douglas could probably handle it.
Yeah, I think to me it's going to be, I think it would help us to be able to spread it out among days. Because then we can do all the, if you've got the facility, you could do the things that they do at nationals.
I like what you're saying, but I'm not sure that we want to make it 4 days. We have some families that struggle to get there, and when it's a long ways away from us, they struggle financially to get there, participate, and come home financially. So if we make it too much longer,
right,
it becomes a difficult financial situation.
So this isn't just shooting sports. This is livestock contest. This is horse contest. This is fashion review. A dog show. We don't know at this point. Actually, we have our first kind of planning session on Thursday to even just start the process. So maybe we do shooting sports for only 2 of those days.
There you go. And that, because you may have people in 2 clubs that are, a livestock club and a shooting sports club. How are they going to get to participate in everything that they want to do?
We'll have to, they'll just have to figure it out.
Okay.
Yep.
So what is that called, Carrie?
It's 4-H Expo at this point. It may change. The last time they did it is in, I think, 13, maybe 14.
Yeah.
So, no, I don't even think it was that long. I think it was earlier than that. It might have been like 8 or 9, 2008 or 2009. I can't remember. I've been going through all of my files trying to find all the stuff.
I think my daughter high school, so that's been my 7 year.
Okay. Yeah, it's been a while since we've done it.
Okay.
So the shooting sports rules, I just want to make sure everybody understands. So I'm a believer in we don't change rules mid-year. And so we want to have everything ready to go by October 1. So it's ready to go in the new 4-H year. So actually, I'd like to have everything ready to go in about August. So then we can move it through everybody that it needs to go through at our end. So I did send a copy of the introduction or just the rules. I sent the training instructor training and certification policies, as well as the Nevada 4-H shooting sports rules and regulations. And so I want us to, we've got about 20 minutes left. And there's a couple other things, but I wanted everybody to have those, to start thinking about potential changes that we need to be made. What I would like is people to go through those, send me potential ideas for changes, like at least, and when we get the date set for the next meeting, within 2 weeks by 2 weeks from that next meeting, so that way we can get them sent out to everybody and start thinking about those rule changes and having those conversations. So like the next meeting will focus on rule changes. Does that sound? Because I know there's going to be a lot of them.
Yeah, those rules haven't been changed in a very, very long time. They need to be updated.
No, they have not. And that's 2010. 2011.
Yeah.
So yes, yep.
Carrie, Hank Kerrigan, on those rule changes, who's the final word on those?
The final word actually comes from me. But we do have, we do have a policies and procedures committee now
Right.
for the state 4-H. And so I want them, obviously they're not going to make significant changes to these rules because a lot of them are not involved. But they do need to look at them and make sure, everything kind of is cohesive. And then I'm sending the full set of policies and procedures, because we're actually not just doing it for this, but we're doing it for the entire 4-H program. They will go up to legal just to make sure everything, we don't have anything that could get us into trouble in the future.
Yeah, that's kind of that's where I was headed. So
Yeah. So I want them to review them. So
very good.
I know it sucks, but we have to, legal has to.
Maybe with our
So Carrie, you're enough time if we're finalizing everything by August and submitting it. You think September, 1 month is enough time to turn around?
Yeah, it is. It is.
Okay.
Yeah.
My question is, they recommendations should be accompanied by maybe explanation or some kind of backup.
Yeah. Yep. Exactly. That's what I would like.
My question is, if we're getting these kids ready and we want to send them to national, shouldn't our state rules reflect national?
They will. Well, yes, but right now we've already got kids that are working on for this year, so it's we can't change rules midstream.
Well, I mean, the next batch coming out.
Right. Oh yeah, definitely.
Because our state rules versus state national is like night and day.
Yes.
And our state rules even vary from event to event.
Yes.
State match to state match.
Yep.
So we've got to get this
at
least matching with national.
I agree.
Carrie, in that light, Hank here again. Should we get a copy of those national rules?
I will send everybody a copy of those national rules. I will do that tonight before I go to bed, because they're out there now. So I agree completely. And my guess is in 2011, when these rules were adopted, national really wasn't organized like it is now. And so they changed on a regular basis. It kind of, I think part of it, they didn't have the structure that they've got at this point. So.
Also with the state rules,
Mm-hmm.
when you shoot at one range, you have one set of rules. When you have another range, you shoot at another set of rules. It happens to be the range master that's in charge.
Okay.
That's where that comes in.
Is that depending on the distance and everything that you have?
Yeah, I'm gonna give you a good example. I had an argument with a lady last year over safety glasses on the archery line. And I don't believe in risking a youth's eyesight for the sake of a bullseye when one of those fletchings can come off of there and poke them in the eye. Or a compound bow can blow up and whack them in the eye.
That's actually now a national best practice that essentially we have to follow.
Yeah, and they got after me because I was bound to determine they were going to wear safety glasses.
Mm-hmm.
So.
Yep.
I think if the range rules vary from the 4-H state rules, those variances need to be listed on the state application so that everyone's aware of the changes.
And I would agree. Those are things that we will get. Yeah, that we will make sure this coming year, if there's any additions, then we can make those adjustments. So, or we'll make sure that they're announced ahead of time. So, okay. So yeah, I will, because I'd like to schedule a meeting like in July. I know that's getting pretty close, but I'd like to if we could, so we can get these things hammered out. It might be a 2-hour meeting. So, and what we can do is I can pull them up on my computer, or I can pull them up on here. I can share my screen with everybody, so we'll be able to, you guys will be able to see what we're making changes on. The last piece, I just wanted to share with you, this is, I mean, it's been since 2013. I don't know how many of you have seen this advancement guide from Oregon. Because I always get questions about what can we use for the youth and, you know, materials for them. And this to me is probably, you know, this, and then Ohio State has some materials. But I'd like us to look at it. To, you know, and what my thought was, so I don't know if any of you are in the horse program, but we have advancement levels in the horse program where when the young person advances to the next level, they get, actually it's a medal, but we could do a pin of some kind, you know, when they get, you know, from step 1 to step 2 to step 3, they could get some kind of recognition for that.
And UC Davis has one that's pretty good as well that has different steps. So I think it makes sense because then we're teaching them more than just, okay, here's how you do it. Here's, we have a formalized process for recognizing their knowledge. That's good.
Well, and I loved this because it not only, you know, do they go through, but they have to, you know, they have to name the different types of eye protection and what the merits of that eye protection. So as the volunteer, you would have them do that. So it's showing their knowledge too. And I like it because it also goes beyond just the, you know, shoot.
I think that's another thing too.
What was that, Brian?
I think that's another thing too. You take the kids that are at state and maybe don't shoot very well and have an off day at state, but they've reached the level 7 that those kids get recognized at a state level. And it's kind of like, I don't know if you're familiar with the FFA program, but when they do the state degree program, so it'd kind of be the same thing. You get that level 7 and it becomes an important thing for them.
Yeah. We could for sure do that. I think it would be great. So I think we need to, you know, I haven't seen the UC Davis ones. If anybody else knows of any other materials out there, please share them. I will look for the UC Davis ones. All I've seen pretty much are the Oregon and the Ohio State materials. And, you know, I've given up asking the national committee for any kind of guidance there because, I mean, I've been asking since 2007. And they keep, you know, the committee keeps, oh, we're going to work on that, we're going to work on that, and then it doesn't get done. So.
But aren't you what you're kind of asking of what these kids are supposed to have in their portfolios?
Essentially, it kind of becomes a portfolio, but not every county does a portfolio. So essentially, this does become a portfolio in a way, but then it's also, you know, a way to recognize them advancing through the program.
Carrie, what I really liked about this is, because we had brought this up, you know, just the other day before our kickoff meeting, and I really liked because it's not only just shooting sports, but it has like the sportsmanship, the responsibility side, and like one of them's like organize like a service project to clean up your range or something like that. I really like that it just went farther than just shooting sports. Again, developing those young leaders, I thought was really, really cool about this whole program.
Yeah. I love the one where they had to demonstrate that they could help pick up or help set up the range and then help clean up after training or after their club meeting. I thought, oh, there you go. So
the funny thing with that is usually the kids will do it. It's the parents who's like, oh, I got to go, and they'll take their kids out. It's like,
I know.
Let the kids do it. They will clean up. It's the parents we got to be after.
Yes. And if you say, hey, it says in here they have to do this now. So, okay. So let's, I know we haven't gone into a lot of in-depth in this meeting. Like, I wanted it really to kind of be an introduction, figure out kind of where we're going. But I would like us to see about doing something like this in the new 4-H year. If the rest of you, if somebody's strongly opposed to it, please speak up.
I don't know, myself, I'm always up for new changes.
I sometimes get in trouble because I'll say, hey, let's just throw this out and try something new. And then they're like, no, wait.
My biggest problem is when I started with this in 1999, I worked with several old guys, and they were pretty stuck in the mud about doing their single shotguns and all this stuff, which a lot of it is very important, and a lot of it is still very important. But there's always room for that advancement to do sporting clays or do skeet or 3D archery, all that kind of good stuff, which is done at national.
Yeah,
they can do it there. Why can't we do it?
Yeah.
So,
and I will tell you, this year at the state shoot, we are going to have the sporting clays is going to be an activity that people they're going to have both of their sporting clay ranges open. And, when kids are done shooting and they're waiting around, that's something kids can do.
Sure. They need to go and experience it.
Yep. I think it's going to be fun. Cody, I think
Carrie,
you enjoy that? To go do the sporting clays?
The sporting clays, yes. I think that would be a fun activity for the youth to do, like at their open spaces or like in between events when they can't do much minus sit around either or doing nothing or trying to stay occupied watching their teammates.
Yep. I think it's pretty cool.
Carrie, I have some recommendations made for next meeting's agenda.
Yep.
And now the time.
Yep.
Well, first of all, I want to thank you for getting this together. It's long overdue, and appreciate everybody that's participated in this meeting. But a couple of things I'd like to, maybe you already have it, but a standardized testing for each discipline. I have some that I've been using, but I know other people have different ones. I don't know if you've standardized that yet or not.
I don't think so, but we can put that, yep.
Another thing is opportunities for grants. I'd like to see something. When I started off my club, everybody held their cards pretty tight as far as how to get equipment. It took me a long time to work my way through it. And now I help other clubs fill out their paperwork. But I would think some kind of white paper, some kind of background on how to apply, where to apply for grants, and then how to do it. Maybe even some sampling might be a good thing to put together. And then you talked about raising money. What's that?
Oh, no, I think that would be great.
Okay. And then lastly, we talked about raising some money and trying to do something with it. I'd like to see some kind of budget, maybe that, maybe some goals in mind of a budget that so we know, how much we need to raise for what we're going to do with it.
Okay. Yep.
But no, great meeting though. Thanks.
Yeah, it's like I said. Oh, the other thing I had on this agenda too is shooting sports coordinator. I've been reading through. Rick's been doing it for a long time, and he's been doing a fabulous job.
Well, there's another one I'm open for. We should get somebody else.
So that, as I read through the rules or read through the guidelines, that was something that this committee selected.
I move that Rick keep doing it. He's doing a great job.
Say that again.
So, it's something we can think about. Essentially, Rick answers all my questions, and sometimes they're like crazy questions, but, and then.
Somebody's got to ask them.
Yeah. And then he also helps with finding instructors for the trainings and helping get those going. So, and yeah, oh, great, Renee. Renee coordinates the Annie Oakley program too. I forgot about that. So, you know, and it might be something maybe, you know, the program's getting, I mean, we have like 3,000 kids in this program right now. Now, I'd like to double that, but, you know, that's just me. But, you know, maybe we do 2 coordinators and kind of figure out some different roles, and I'm always up for looking at opportunities. So
that would be good to get 2 coordinators, a north and south, or east and west, or something.
Or even if we're going in these 4 quadrants,
yeah.
Maybe we do 1 in each of those 4 quadrants.
Sure, because the more minds we can put together, the better we can be.
Yep. So it's something, as we're looking at rules and guidelines, we definitely need to be thinking about. If this group is okay right now, if Rick's willing, you know, just until we kind of get that up and, you know, until maybe the new year starts. I don't know how much there'll be to do, and you know, because we're not going to do a ton of training. I hope.
Yeah.
I don't want to stress anybody else out.
Something else we need.
What's that?
Look at, something else we need to look at when we're updating these rules is also the student manual that we have on the website, university website.
Yep.
Where a lot of that's out of date, and some of it's got the wrong commands in there and stuff like that. So we need to get that fixed at least before we start another new year.
Yeah. I was complaining about the printing costs on that here not too long ago, and I started going through it, and I pulled out, just at first glance, I pulled out about 30 pages that are duplicates.
Yeah.
So,
right.
Yeah.
So maybe we look at it, compare it to like an advancement guide type program, and make them so they coordinate.
Yeah, you know, I was looking at that too, that maybe the advancement guide that you sent to us and their manual could be mixed.
Yeah.
You know, as part of their what do they call that? They turn in at the end of the year?
Portfolio.
Project book.
Yeah.
Their portfolio. They can turn that in, and they can use the stuff out of both of them.
Yep. So I guess my question is, do I have 2 or 3 people, 4 people that are willing from this committee to work on curriculum?
I can put in my 2 cents worth.
Okay.
As well. Experience with the Marine Corps too.
Okay, great. So Renee, it looks like Marissa. The other piece I may do is, because we have a few that aren't on here, so I may send an email out asking for volunteers as well. I think, and that may be how we need to break things up is, okay, so many people work on this, so many people work on this. It's kind of a crazy, we have a big job.
Carrie, you can put me down on the workbook, but I don't have any time until August.
Okay.
3 and 4-H and my daughter.
Yes.
So.
Okay. Well, thank you guys. I know, like I said, I know we didn't get a lot of, did the doodle poll work okay for everybody to set a meeting date?
Yeah, that was good.
It worked.
Okay.
Yeah, that was good. If I could just get my Zoom working, that'd be great.
So I will get a doodle poll out with potential dates. Is the July, first part of August? Does that sound okay?
No, not August. First part, we got our county fair
Oh, okay.
in Lincoln. Sorry.
So what I will, and I may put in several dates, but plan on it being essentially the next one. We'll go over these things that Hank mentioned and that the others have mentioned. But I think the bulk of the time is going to be working session on the rules.
I think that's a good idea.
Yeah. So, but I want to send them out ahead of time so everybody has a chance to look at them.
Yeah.
Okay.
Sounds good.
I've got 7:57. So start on time, end on time, as much as possible.
There you go.
So, the one thing I want to tell you guys is I really appreciate everybody stepping up to volunteer with this committee. I know it's a big job, but I really appreciate it. I think shooting sports is one of the things that I love. I don't get to spend as much time on it as I wish I could, which is one of the reasons why I'm pushing to get a full-time coordinator, but I think it's one of the best programs we have, so. It is. So you'll find me 100% supporting this program. And I have already defended it many times in the last few months. So.
Carrie, one last thing. Sorry, Hank here again.
No, you're good.
With what's going on in our country, these school shootings, these kids, killing each other. I think it's a great opportunity for this program to, not political, but just educate these kids on our kids, the ones that we're having an effect on. That these aren't 4-H shooting sports kids that are doing this.
Right.
And I don't think we should bury our heads in the sand and ignore it. I mean, these kids want answers. These parents want answers. I think it's a great opportunity for us to educate them both. And
I agree.
I just want to make sure everybody's doing that. And I don't think we're out of bounds in doing that, right, Carrie?
Oh, no, I don't think so at all. I don't think so at all. I try to educate people. It's amazing, though, how many phone calls. I probably get at least one phone call and one email a week with parents trying to get their kids into 4-H shooting sports. And so, me, that shows that parents are, but yeah, I believe we need to be talking to our kids and letting them know, that none of them have been 4-H members. So.
Yeah, that's exactly right. That's interesting. I just had a little problem earlier this year with the sheriff's department. They used the range that's been set aside for the young people. The sheriff's department uses it for practice every now and then, and they parked the school bus right in the middle of it for a drill.
Oh.
Well, then they wouldn't move it. So I went to the sheriff's department. I went to the county. This went on for 3 months. They were only supposed to be there for a week. And finally, I don't remember who all got involved with it, but it was over the county. But they couldn't understand why I couldn't teach a youth program with a school bus in the middle of the shooting range.
Yeah, exactly.
Like,
why we don't point the guns at something that could, Yeah.
So, everybody around here that knows me and knows Force's shooting sports program, they were laughing. They think I'm God because I got rid of that school bus. It's like, no, I just pushed the wrong button.
Yeah. So, I appreciate you, Hank, bringing that up. But I hope as you're talking to your fellow leaders that you're making sure that they are, are promoting that.
Yeah.
All right. Well, I will let everybody go. And thank you. I will send out a doodle poll. I'm going to get you guys the national guidelines right now, and then I will get a doodle poll. I may even do it right now, so I don't forget.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.